So, good morning, good day, hello everyone, and thank you for being part of this. So, one of the important things to study or to learn about in doing meditation practice is desires, how our desires work, and how we get pulled into them, the allure of them, the propensity we have to get caught in them and to believe them and follow them, and how not to be involved in desires, or to be involved in the desires that are healthy for us and appropriate for us, to be able to choose a healthy desire for meditation and then be able to stay with it, to have a commitment to it or engagement with it. And there is a kind of desire in meditation to meditate, to be present. And it's maybe a very simple one. Some people it's not simple, and there can be a lot of greed and attachment involved in that desire to attain certain states or have something happen, prove something. But there can be a very simple desire to be present, to be with one's breathing, as an antidote to being caught up in greed, an antidote to be caught up, swept away by other desires. It's a desire to become free of compulsive desires. So when we sit, if we sit when we sit to meditate, if you use the breathing as your primary anchor for your attention in the present moment, there can be a very simple desire to do so. Without that desire, there can be a kind of like instructions to do it, and one thinks that one's supposed to do it and will try to do it, but maybe the desire is not there. And maybe never thought about having a desire. It's like, okay, I have to follow the instructions. In a sense, the desire is to follow the instructions. But it helps a lot if you have a simple, relaxed, but clear desire, like a decision, desire that leads to a decision that this is what I want to do. So no question about it. It still might be difficult, but there's a big difference between a decisiveness in a desire to be present versus not really having decided, and kind of like, it sounds like a good idea, I'll try it, but easy come, easy go or something. And it can be the desire to stay with the breathing then has to be monitored a little bit to make sure that it's not greed or it isn't with expectation. As you meditate, I teach here to do so with anchored in the breathing. As you do so, the mind will wander off. And when it does, before you return to your breathing, see if you can recognize if that wandering off mind involves any kind of desire. If you start thinking about a meal, there's maybe a desire for food. If you start thinking about planning the day, there's a kind of desire for the planning. There's a wanting something, there's engaging in something. And don't make it a big, complicated project, just very simple, kind of obvious. And if you don't see a desire, that's okay, just let go and come back to your breathing. But notice how often your thinking involves, maybe is fueled by a desire for something. Or desire for something not to be. And then reestablish your desire for being with breathing. And letting go of those thoughts. So this brings a kind of more clarity, more wisdom, understanding about the mechanism by which we wander off. That often the wandering off is aided by the desire that goes along with it. And you might discover the desire for a meal or whatever you're thinking about has some kind of greater psychological strength than the desire to meditate. And then maybe relax. Relax deeply. Remember that now is the time to meditate. There's always time for other desires. So, assuming a meditation posture, with the desire for a posture that will allow you to meditate for the duration, but also a posture that, since there's a desire for clarity and a certain relaxed alertness, what posture supports relaxed alertness? And then lowering your gaze. You might close your eyes. And with a desire to settle in and relax, taking a few long, slow, deep breaths and relaxing into your body as you exhale. A clear desire, wish to let the whole system soften, relax. Letting your breathing return to normal. And now before centering yourself on the breathing, check in with yourself and see if how you feel, what your mind is concerned with, really, and also what you might be feeling emotionally or in terms of a mood. And is there any way which those represent or come along with an active desire? Is there a subtle desire behind the background or in the foreground around your thought streams, how you feel? And then see if you can establish a desire to be present for the ongoing rhythm of breathing in and breathing out. A desire to be present for your breathing. The experience of breathing in the body. It doesn't have to be any tension or expectation of success. But there can be a decisiveness in the decision, the desire. Okay, This is in fact what I'd like to do now. And settling into your breathing, maybe relaxing a bit with the exhale. And if your mind wanders away from breathing, notice if any desire is involved in that, or is representative of that movement of mind or movement of feelings. Acknowledge the desire, and then return to wanting to be with your breathing. And settle in again, one breath at a time, letting your thinking mind become quieter as you exhale. Thinking mind moves towards stillness, quiet. So you're just breathing in, breathing out. most thinking involves desire of some kind or other, even if it's just the desire to think. But often it's the desire for something, for what we're thinking about, or something in relationship to it. Desire is the fuel for thinking. Can you recognize the desire and let go of it or put it aside and return to the desire to be with your breathing, the desire to be here meditating? And then as we come to the end of this sitting, turning your attention outward into the world of other people and animals and creatures of all kinds. And can you find in yourself a simple, maybe almost like the simplest kind of uncomplicated desire for the well-being of all living beings? A simple wish, uncomplicated by expectations and obligations, and even uncomplicated by the need to act on it, at least for now. And to wish for the welfare and happiness of others. What a good idea it would be. How great that would be if everyone could be happy. And then to give voice to this desire, even if the desire is the desire to have the desire. And maybe you could silently repeat after me these words. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. And then if you would like, you can add a desire to that. And that is the desire that for this day, next 24 hours, may you contribute to that in some way, no matter how small. May all beings benefit from our community. Thank you. So, hello, and for this Monday, for this week, I would like to discuss the fourth foundation of mindfulness, the kind of the foundational teachings on mindfulness practice. Comes from a text by the Buddha that's sometimes called the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, and it has these four different areas in which to cultivate this clear awareness of mindfulness. And over this last 4 months or so, I've given weeks on each of the first three, maybe starting in June, maybe one June, one July, one August. And so today I would like to do the fourth foundation. And if some of you have been there for the others, and if you're interested in this topic, you could always go back and listen to those. The fourth foundation of mindfulness is is called the foundation of the Dhammas, the Dharmas. And it's commonly said that the word Dharma has many meanings, and in relationship to this fourth foundation, people have struggled to figure out what the proper meaning is here. My proposal is to call it the action or activities. One of the meanings of Dharma, among the many, is it can mean actions, and but not just actions of that we do actively, but just activities. But activities of the mind here, and and here what we're doing in the fourth foundation is building on the foundation of the previous three. We're now taking an interest in the activities of the mind that either keep us in bondage or which set us free. Either those that keep us in the karmic stream or those that lead us into the dharmic stream, following the topic for last week's talks. And these five are laid out as many things are in the suttas progressively, almost like a little map of practice as we go along. And it begins with the 5 hindrances. The 5 hindrances are something that used to be, I don't know if it's still the case, but used to be the standard talk to be given at week-long or 10-day-long insight meditation retreats. Usually the second day or so there's a talk given on the hindrances. And it's really invaluable to understand how these work. These are 5 forces in the mind that act as kind of like black holes, like a black hole star that is so, gravitational force is so strong that light doesn't come out of it. In our case, the pull is so strong that awareness doesn't come out. Our awareness gets sucked in, and we get involved in this or lost in this in a way that's unproductive for clear awareness. And these 5 are sensual desire, ill will, sloth and resistance, sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse, regrets, and then doubt or uncertainty. And so it begins with sensual desires, and then one of the reasons it's taught at these Vipassana retreats, it's like the coarsest or often the first line of mental activity that gets in the way of getting settled in meditation. And it has a lot to do with desire for things. In fact, the whole first 3 parts of this fourth foundation can be seen as expressions of desire or manifestations of desire, but in particular for these hindrances. There's desire for sensual pleasures, the desire for getting rid of something, pushing it away. There is sloth and torpor, sloth and resistance, but especially when you call it resistance, is the kind of a desire to not participate or shut down or kind of go numb. And so sloth and torpor isn't just innocent being tired. It's a kind of like wanting not to pay attention, not to be here in some way, and being deflated. And maybe deflated because our desires, we can't fulfill them. We're not being satisfied with our desires. And then the 4th one is this restlessness and kind of regrets. And agitation, restlessness can often come because unfulfilled desires, and we don't know how to fulfill our desires. And regrets can often come when we had a desire that that was not fulfilled, or we didn't do what we had hoped to do, or we did something that we, in retrospect, realized we wish we hadn't done. And because our desires were a little bit askew, a little bit off. And then doubt is not sure what to do in relationship to all this. So we get pulled into the world of objects, the world of things, of experiences, of people, And these five can be the fuel for getting lost in that world, sometimes for decades. And so mindfulness practice is so if we settle that down, then we're ready to take on something more subtle that keeps us distracted or keeps us from getting really settled. And that has to do with various kinds of attachments or identifications as self. And so we're working through this kind of ideas and deeper ideas of self. And that's just called the five aggregates. The third one, when that's settled, there's a simpler kind of desire that goes on that's left when attachment to self is no longer there. And that's just simple desires for anything and everything, just simple experiences in the moment. We hear a sound and there's a movement for or against it, or a taste, or whatever it might be. And this is called the mindfulness of the sense spheres, of how we experience in the moment the sense experience at all the different sense doors. And once we kind of quiet that down, then the Dharmic stream has a chance to surface. And then there can be the arising of 7 factors of awakening, 7 wonderful qualities of this Dharmic stream that begin coursing through us like a stream almost when it gets strong. And this is kind of like core states of meditation that are setting the foundation for a quiet, calm, steady mind that then can see the fifth part of the fourth foundation, which is the Four Noble Truths, having the insights that lead to liberation. And so these are kind of progressive, and we can go through them. And so today, we'll talk a little bit briefly about the hindrances, and then we'll go through the other 4. So it's kind of a whirlwind tour of these big topics. And in these few minutes I'm going to talk about the hindrances. I could also say that I have given classes on the hindrances that are on Audio Dharma, and I've covered this before, so you could go and look it up, and if you want to catch up in more depth around them, which I strongly encourage. I'd like to think that Vipassana students should become experts on the hindrances, and think of Vipassana practice, especially in the early period of one's practice, as a kind of a de facto study to get a PhD in the hindrances, to really understand them, to see them coming, to be able to recognize them, to know how to work with them. In the way that the Buddha discusses in this text, the 4 Foundations of Mindfulness, he says very simply, when there is one of these hindrances, when it's there, one recognize it's there. When it's not there, one recognize it's not there. Before one has arisen, if something hasn't occurred yet, a hindrance, one is there, present enough and bright and clear enough to recognize its arising. And this idea of seeing the beginning of something, the arising of something, is, we'll talk more about this as we go along, but is phenomenally important. It's only possible if the mind is steady and stable, so that we can see the arising of things. And then we recognize that we've abandoned it. We recognize that it's gone away. And then we recognize, it's really gone, it's not coming back. Wow. So as the mindfulness and concentration gets stronger, one has the ability to let go easily. And seeing it go is meant to inspire faith and confidence in this practice, that we're not stuck in these hindrances. We have some agency around them. And we should exercise that. There is this healthy desire to let go of the hindrances. It's not easy to do, and that's why I say we want to do a big study, get the equivalent of a PhD in the hindrances, so we really understand well how to do this, and how to prepare the grounds so that we can avoid getting caught in the hindrances. So one learns to let go of it, and then one recognizes there comes a time when the mind is so stable and so beginning to have a feeling of freedom that one recognizes that hindrance is not going to arise again. I mean, in the short term at least, in this state that we're in. It might later come back, but it's like such a nice feeling. So good, especially if someone's been caught in the hindrances for a long time and struggling with them. It's such a relief to have them, go away and then feel confident that for now they're not here. The word that we're translating as hindrances, nivarana, is literally means a covering. So the hindrances are what covers over the depth of what goes on for us, covers over our freedom, covers over a clarity, and covers over wisdom. And part of the function of reason to practice with hindrances and have them quiet down is so that we can see clearly, and wisdom can begin operating in relationship to what goes on. And part of that wisdom is to begin to understand the nature of desires and know which desires are healthy to have, and how to have healthy desires in a healthy way. And so by no longer get pulled into the world of desires of the hindrances, then we can start have more freedom, more ability to have this healthy desire to, yes, what I'm going to do is to practice mindfulness. What I want to do is to be present here. Yes, recognizing what's happening in the present moment is better than not recognizing and wandering off in the highways and byways of my mind. So, so the 5 hindrances, the 4th foundation of mindfulness, a journey from our contracted, difficult states to liberation. So, thank you.